Going to university is a nerve-wracking experience, but with it is the opportunity for a fresh start. As a student, your union will have certain preconceived ideas about you before you arrive, primarily that you're a wild party animal who loves to drink. The assumption is that this is your first taste of freedom, and as such you're really expected to let loose. Your union may have set up a number of activities at the student bar, primarily involving alcohol. Most universities end their Freshers' Week with a pub crawl of some kind. If this doesn't sound like much fun to you, then this could possibly be the guide for you. I study at Queen Margaret University just outside of Edinburgh. Last year I witnessed some of the events at my Freshers' Week, but I can't lie and say that I took part in all of it. I'm old enough to know what's for me and what isn't. The events were mostly organised into two sets. Events for those legally old enough to drink, and events for those who weren't. The events for those 18 and over were generally alcohol related. There was the aforementioned pub crawl, there was a bubble foam UV party with shots, there was the school uniform disco, which to me sounds a little bit pervy, but whatever. And the under 18 events usually consisted of things like entry to Edinburgh Castle, there was bowling, things of that nature, you know. Right, I get it. It is difficult to organise non-drinking events. Most 18-year-olds are going to be up for drinking, and you run the risk when you try to create events that are non-drinking that there will be one, low attendance, and two, you run a real risk of it becoming very much like a children's party if you're not careful. Like, you really have to be careful. I do feel, however, that there should have been a mix. If you were 18, you weren't allowed to participate in any of the events for those who couldn't drink, and vice versa, obviously. That, however, leaves a small but noticeable number of people out, be they for personal reasons, religious reasons, or any other reasons. For myself, I just don't see the point in alcohol. If you want to drink, then fine, but I'm not big on it, nor am I big on other people being drunk around me. From my experience, don't let anyone fool you. If someone says, come with us to this club, it'll be fun, you don't have to drink to have a good time, 9 times out of 10 they do drink and they will be drinking, so they can't possibly know that. In my experience, it's not much fun being the only sober person in a room full of drunks. Maybe it is for you, but not for me. So what's my advice? First and foremost, do what you're comfortable with. Don't let anyone pressure you into doing anything or going anywhere that you don't want to go. There's this idea that Freshers' Week is where you make all your close friends for the year, and it's really not true. If you don't make any friends in that first week, it's really not a big deal. When your classes start, there's plenty of time to get talking to people. Most people in my course last year, for example, were pretty awkward for the first few weeks, and very few people actually formed decent friendships until about 3 weeks in. So it's really not a big deal. Next, if you aren't into the drinking clubbing scene, then don't try and make yourself feel bad by feeling you're missing out. If that's not your scene, then you're really not missing out on anything. People really try to hype it up to be more than it is, but at the end of the day, if it's not for you, it's not for you. You have to create your own experience. Your university more than likely has a Freshers Facebook page of some kind. You can use this to try and contact people in advance who may be in your year, possibly other non-drinkers, possibly other people who are just shy. Whatever, you can use it to meet and speak to people in advance. This was something I actually did last year, and I'm still friends with one of the girls that I talk to this way. So it's something that can actually work. If you find large groups of new people intimidating, this could be something that's actually really useful for you. And I know, like, it's a bit awkward having to write a post saying, are there any other non-drinkers or whatever like that out there, but at the end of the day, like, you won't be the only one. Honestly, I thought I was going to be the only person at my university that didn't drink, and I met a good 10, 12 other people that don't drink this year. Like, it's really not that uncommon. Like, you think it is because everyone in high school seems to be into that, but it's really not that uncommon. If you're going to university in a new city, as many people do, you can use this as an excuse to go out. Get a group of people together and explore. See the sights, do silly tourist stuff, find a cafe to write essays in future. Just get out there. Even if you have to go by yourself, do it. It's really worthwhile. You might know other people from high school at your university. I would suggest that even if you do, you still try and talk to new people. University is meant to be a fresh start, so I'm not saying that you should completely cut off everyone from high school, but you shouldn't let familiarity, like, hold you back from putting yourself out there. That's really important. That said, hanging around with someone that you know in the first week might help to boost your confidence in certain situations. So obviously it's up to you what you do, but as I say, don't let people you know hold you back from meeting new people. The one thing I will say is don't just sit in your room. I'm not the most social person myself, but sometimes you just have to push yourself. For the first few weeks, most people will be as nervous as you are, so approaching someone and trying to start a conversation really isn't going to end too badly. I'm not saying you'll make a friend for life, but it will probably benefit you as much as it benefits them. When classes do start, if you are the quiet type, look for other people who are sitting by themselves who seem to be a bit awkward and try and talk to them. And I'm not necessarily saying you'll get on, but as I say, it's a way to start talking to people, and people are, if other people can see you having a conversation with someone else, you then yourself become much more approachable. This is my experience. Like last year, people would come up and join me in my little group and start joining in or listening to what we were saying. That's just how it goes when you're in a room full of everyone who's incredibly awkward. So it is incredibly beneficial if you can. If you don't feel up to it, as I say, don't force yourself, but don't turn people away either. When you are in a room full of people who don't necessarily know each other, basic icebreakers are incredibly easy. Just talk about where you come from, what you're hoping to do at the end of the course. Are you living in halls? Are you living in town? What's your... There's lots of basic things you can ask, and you can have fun with it. Yes, it is awkward, but it's usually kind of amusing at how awkward it is. Like, it's a good icebreaker. To make a long story short, if you're nervous about freshers, don't be. Take every opportunity available to you to get outside and to talk to people, whether that's in events or outside of events, and whether that's online in advance or just in person at the time. Get to know new people. Don't let familiarity with people from high school hold you back. Explore. Even if you have to do it by yourself, you have a brand new city to look at, get out there. Don't do anything you aren't comfortable with. Forcing yourself to drink or to go to the club or any of that sort of stuff, if that is not your scene, that is not your scene, and you won't feel better afterwards for having done it. But on the flip side, don't hide away in your room either. Not participating in the events won't mean that you miss out, but hiding away will. An alcohol-fueled Freshers Week doesn't have to be a lonely experience, but remember, if it is only for 1 week. Try and make it your own. Do with it what you can and make the best out of a bad situation. When your courses start, things will definitely start to look up and you'll be much happier. I hope this has been of some help to some people. I know, like, there's not really a lot you can say to this sort of thing, but I'm constantly seeing comments on other people's YouTube videos about, oh, I'm really nervous because I don't drink and whatnot, and I was actually the same last year. I was sat on Tumblr and things like that, like making posts saying, God, I hope I'm not the only like non-drinker going, and I'd get no replies and stuff. So I think it's important for people to know that you can still have a good time if you don't drink. You don't necessarily have to be nervous. Yes, it might not be everything that you would hope it would be, but you can still have a good time with it. And I hope this manages to make some people feel a little better about that.